For more on that, let's bring in Tony Gosling, historian and investigative journalist, joining us from Bristol. Mr. Gosling, thank you for your time. My first question, I wanted your initial thoughts on this. And do you think that this move can reflect a deeper shift in European public opinion on Gaza and the Israeli crimes on it?
Well, the question is not about European public opinion. The question is about the European elites and the European leadership, and really the paucity and failure of European leadership over the last 3 years, in fact many years, but particularly over the genocide, because the people of Europe, the millions, the hundreds of millions of people of Europe are not supporting the Israel in this. They are supporting Palestine. The trouble is that they have a bunch of leaders that seem to think that it's okay to cozy up to arms companies, to the financial elite, you know, the Eurocrats, the City of London, and to go along with this genocide because they're making money at it and they think that they can achieve geopolitical goals through human slaughter. Now, the Eurovision Song Contest started quite well back in the 1950s. 1957 was the first year it was held. Something called the European Broadcasting Union. There were only 7 countries: Belgium, France, Germany, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands and Switzerland. And you'll notice they are all in Europe. One slight problem with Israel is it's not in Europe. The Israelis managed to squeeze into the European Eurovision Song Contest way back in 1973, which is roughly when the British music industry started to fail and the music started to go downhill. And I can tell you, from someone who remembers the early days of Eurovision, it was an exciting evening. Nowadays, it is mostly nonsense and rubbish which is put out by these various songwriters, because the music industry has been infested by money and people trying to make money from it and people using it for propaganda, like the Israelis. So it's really good to see the Dutch, the Spanish and the Irish and the Slovenians all saying we're having nothing to do with this anymore. So for 2 reasons really. One is it's run its course. There are better songwriters and singers on the streets of Bristol busking for a few pennies from passers-by than you'll find in this Eurovision Song Contest nowadays.
Exactly. Mr. Gosling, could these boycotts be an early indicator of a collapsing, as you just mentioned, Western consensus on unconditional support for Israel?
Well, of course, it is actually a fake consensus. But one of the rules of the contest is that the winner hosts the Eurovision Song Contest the next year. So what would happen if the Israelis won? Are all of these countries then all going to come along to Tel Aviv or Jerusalem next year to hold a massive fun song contest to do propaganda work for the genocidalists? No, of course they don't want to do that. And that's one of the reasons I'm quite sure that many of these countries have pulled out, is because they don't want to. In fact, if you go back over the last even 30 years, back to apartheid South Africa, you will see that many musicians who are actually good at what they do, I'm talking here about people like Eric Clapton, etc., Van Morrison, people who've got a little bit of integrity as a musician, and they're not just looking for the money from the music industry. They have boycotted many events. For example, Israeli events, Israeli sponsored events. Back in the 1980s and early 90s, it was South African events. And so you can see that the pressure, political pressure that musicians can put on, they're very much aware of that. And so this is really echoing the very best, but this boycott of the British musicians, the British music industry that we've seen over the years, boycotting racism.
Tony Gosling, historian and investigative journalist, joining us from Bristol. Thank you for your time tonight.